Welcome everybody to I the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today I thought I'd just really leave it open to the universe. So what I've asked Spirit here, my guides, the connection to your guides, all of that sort of thing, is to bring forth the most important message, the message that you're most needing to hear right now. So this could be very spiritual, it could be very pragmatic and practical, it could be relationship based, it could be career based, it could be creativity based, it could be any number of things. And I'll try and make it as broad as I can within a kind of context in the reading, but ultimately I would suspect that each reading will have a particular energy of the type of topic or the type of area that this is about. So the first card here is part of that. There's a couple of other cards from this deck, plus also an astrology card, to try and give a really good sense about what's the context of this message. So we know that straight out when we look at it in more detail with the tarot and with other information. But what I'm really aiming to do with this reading is get you as much information on this message as possible. So looking at it from various different aspects to get you that, so that if it is very much at the spiritual end of the continuum, you have stuff around that. If it's very practical, at the other end of the continuum, you have stuff around that. So we're going to try and cover the breadth to get you the message that you need to have right now. Of course, you can go to more than one reading. There could be more than one message that is important for you to hear. This is also one of these sort of readings where if you don't feel drawn to it right now, it might be that in 6 months' time you come back to this reading and you sort of think, I feel like I have a message for me now. Or you might go to one reading now and in 6 or 12 months' time come back and go to another. So it's all completely up to you, whatever works for you. To help with the choice, I shuffled and asked for one of 3 cards from the Human Spirit Oracle to give a sense about the area or the type of message this is about. So for pile number 1, we have card 25, if numbers draw you, and it says make a wish. For pile number 2, we have the first card and it says anyway, as in the classic rock song, The Wind Blows. And I'm saying that very specifically that way because I don't want to trigger things within the YouTube algorithm. So people will be familiar with that particular type of musical analogy there. And then pile number 3 has card number 19 with butterfly effect. So if any of those images, concepts or whatever draw you, that may help you choose. Otherwise, maybe meditate, pause the video, do whatever you need to do to decide what reading or readings to go to. When you know, the timestamps as usual are in the description box below. Before I go forward with this, just a quick reminder that I'm going to do every once in a while, which is that I have a Patreon now. If you want to support the channel and get some exclusive content and benefits, the details are in the description box below. I, of course, do private readings and I have a tarot course and tarot mentoring and that kind of set of offerings on my Etsy store as well. The link is in the description box below. And in that space, around any kind of individual service, that's the only way to get it from me. Don't ever be fooled if somebody tries to pretend to be me in comments or something, soliciting whether you want a reading, because that won't be me. So it's always important to not get scammed. Okay, with that, check out whichever reading you want or readings, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Make a Wish. That also has Hit Your Target and Hothead to help describe what this message is about. And we have an astrological energy, Grand Trine Blessings. Now, a Grand Trine is a very strong aspect of ease, blessing and growth. So this is a message, I think, that says you can make a wish and make it come true. The interesting thing about this is that you may doubt that. In fact, the biggest block potentially for you at the moment about manifesting what you want might be that you feel it won't work, or you're angry at other things that haven't occurred, or even that you're in a very contested and combustible type of environment. And that may be the one thing that tends to take you off course, because it's saying here, if you make your wish, you can bring it into being. But you do need to focus on your target and not worry about it. And I'm feeling even with this, because of how worried this woman looks, as you would be, I guess, if someone was throwing darts at a target just above the head, and how angry this character looks, I feel that it's saying that many of you are looking to manifest something, as I say, in a rather tense situation. So if you are in a very volatile situation at work or creatively or something like that, or even in a romance, and it tends to blow hot and cold, and you tend to worry sometimes and sometimes get really frustrated, or others around you are like that, and that's kind of crueling your pitch in a way, then I think this is saying that you need to kind of step back and just believe that you can bring this wish into being. That whatever this is, if you know what your focus is, you don't need to worry as much and it won't be as frustrating. I feel like it suggests that things have been. So I think the message, the very strong message to you need to hear right now is things are going to get easier now when they haven't felt easy. So the important thing right now is to think about what is your wish and what is your target, and not to worry about it and not to get frustrated. Things will happen at the right time and you can get what you're aiming for. So we're going to use tarot to have a little bit more of an idea about what Spirit is trying to say to you. So we're going to start about what is seen and obvious. What will be seen and obvious to you in relation to this message? Then we're going to look at what is unseen and unconscious. And then we'll have a look at how you can connect the two to better understand the message. So firstly, in whatever situation this is, and it's got to have been a situation where I think you really do have an aim or a wish, you've started to doubt it because you've just been in such a tense and as I say, contested or combustible type of environment. Things are going to get better. So now it's the time to make the wish. If you'd made the wish earlier, you may not have been on target. You might have triggered a whole bunch of rubbish that wasn't useful. Or you may have even tried to do it before and hit that sort of issue, but it's going to shift. So let's see what you will see or know about this message. Ace of Pentacles reversed, 9 of Wands, 6 of Cups reversed, 4 of Cups reversed, 7 of Swords reversed. Okay, all right. So firstly, what you know, you will know if this message, if you've come to the right reading, you'll know what this thing is. And it's something you want to bring into material being with the Ace of Pentacles. It's just you haven't done it yet. You may have tried. It may have been something that failed to seed in a way. See with this, how there's a seed growing up out of the pentacle. I think it's something that you have tried and it hasn't yet taken, but it is meant to now. And it's saying you're much closer than you think with the 9 of Wands. That is the kind of, you're near the end of the marathon, you just need your second wind. Like it's not as far away as you think. Even if you feel like, you know, all I've had is competition and people sort of like getting stressed around me or whatever it might be, you are able to do this. I'm also getting if there's anything physical, if you've had physical sort of issues, you know, you were trying to have a child, trying to be on an exercise program, something like that, again, the energy is there. It is so close to being able to get what you want. But it is saying that you're a bit stuck in the past and it's got you emotionally stuck. So I feel like this is something that maybe you've tried before. Or you've been in environments, you may even have learnt this in childhood. You might have learnt that you can't have what you want. And that if you ask for what you want, everybody explodes. You may have felt like a target. Some of you may have felt that you were the sort of the truth teller in a narcissistic family, just using certain, you know, kind of psychological sort of paradigms that might fit this. There's something from the past you need to kind of unblock emotionally because you're much closer than you think, but it's reminding you. So it's either something you've tried before and you feel like, well, it didn't work then, so why should it work? But this is a real getting real moment. This is not bargaining with the universe. This is not doing any of those things. This is actually you understanding that this could occur. So I feel like it's saying something is going to occur very soon, if it hasn't already, that lets you know this is actually possible. That, you know, when you wish, you can actually much more easily bring this thing in than it has been in the prior areas. It could be that if there were combustible sort of people around you, they're no longer going to be in the picture, for instance. It could be that you've actually worked out what your focus is, and what happened before is you were kind of had a very broad idea about what you want, but you've done the work to work out what it really is, what is the core bit of it, and you can see it coming. But you're going to know and get real with yourself about the fact that some of what's blocked things before is your own expectation that a block would occur because of things in the past. So that's very powerful. You get it. You see that you can do this. It doesn't feel like it's just dreaming. It feels like you could actually do it. So what's unseen or unconscious that this message is trying to bring you? King of Wands reversed. Wheel of Fortune reversed, the Hermit, the Five of Wands, the Lovers. Okay, so for some of you, if this is about a relationship or about love and having love relationships, which it could be, what's unconscious in this is you've drawn this sort of energy. The King of Wands reverse, you've drawn this sort of energy because you almost feel you deserve it, or you feel there's some kind of like karma, or you just feel like this is, what is your lot and you've got to deal with that. And it's possibly made you withdraw from relationships. You've kind of given up on thinking it could occur if this is about love. And so I'm just looking about love first. Doesn't have to be about love. But if that's the case, I think you've had a tendency to draw these hothead energies and you felt like a target and you feel like, how can I get the right person? How can I hit my mark? It's very anxiety provoking. There's something that has not been good and it's made you withdraw because you don't want the conflict. The conflict is not good. At least that that is having an impact on relationships with you. But what's unconscious is the dynamic that is making this occur. And as I say, it's almost like something from childhood, something that really put in you the sense that you have to put up with this. Maybe you came from a very volatile family, so you took that as normal, for instance, or you've been told, that you have to have certain types of people. Or even in a way with the King of Wands reversed, if you weren't confident in yourself, you might have looked for people who appeared to be very confident, but you've actually drawn people to you that aren't. But whatever it is, it's made you withdraw because you just don't want the conflict anymore. But this is saying you can bring in what you want if it's about love. If it's about a career thing, then there is definitely some sort of combustible thing going on, but it may be very passive aggressive. So it may not be coming across quite as a hothead like people blowing up all over the place, but it could be lots of little nitpicking critiques and that sort of thing operating. And it kind of has made you feel it's just not the right time, it's just not the right time, it's just not the right time, and you withdraw because, again, you don't want the conflict around you, you want to get on with people. But it's there. Like if you're having a sense that, are you imagining it? No, you're not imagining it. There's somebody who's being very dominant and very not using emotional energy honestly or well around this. So, but this is a bit less conscious. It's like whatever has been the block for you, there was maybe a bigger and more obvious version of it when you were younger or in some earlier relationship or whatever. This one is like it again, like you've attracted a similar energy again, but as I say, it's maybe a little bit more covert. So if you were dealing with a narcissist, like say you dealt with a narcissist before, now you've got a covert narcissist, if that makes sense. It doesn't have to be that. I'm just using it as an example. Spirit wants you to know you can get what you want, but there's an underlying tendency you've had to draw in the conflict and then withdraw. So it's sort of like it should be easier. You're much closer than you think. It's almost like it's saying you don't need another person for this. If it's about creativity, career or something like that, that you are enough and you don't need anything more. So you don't have to worry about that. You can look after relationships afterwards. This is much closer than you think. If it is about a relationship, it's saying you deserve more than you are giving yourself credit for. So Spirit wants you to hear that. Okay, so we're going to then ask, how do you kind of align these things to make them work better for you so that the message really comes through? So both what you see and understand, and I think you see and understand something is possible and it's not the same as the past, but you're not fully understanding the kind of psychological dynamic underneath it. So how do you bring those two together to get the best out of this message? Queen of Cups reversed. King of Swords reversed. King of Pentacles reversed. Gee, there's a lot of other people associated with this. Two of Pentacles. Okay. I think this is really saying, even if ultimately you want love or a relationship, and it's saying you could have that, the only way you're going to do it is first of all stepping out and being on your own. And that's using that hermit energy positively rather than withdrawing. It's meant to step out on your own, because this is definitely saying you have to understand the undercurrent that's going on here. You've got a Queen of Cups energy, which is people who are not necessarily being emotionally authentic. You've got the King of Swords, people flat out potentially lying to you. The King of Pentacles reversed, people not being loyal. People, and with the King of Wands and the King of Pentacles together, this is in the workplace, you're definitely in a toxic workplace, I'd say. So there's a choice. You need to make a choice about how you relate going forward. Because it's like, I think that if this is a creative career, you can do it on your own, and then you can bring in better relationships, better connections. But right now, relying on other people, you couldn't trust them. You really couldn't. So this is a message you needed to hear, just so that you know that if your instinct is telling you this is not the right environment, the right people are right over you, you're right, and I know that if you're in a workplace, you can't just instantly just get up and leave, but thinking about how to do that, thinking about where else you could work or whatever, and starting to look at that would be a helpful thing. And you're closer to being able to do what you want than you think. If you're wishing for a new job, you're very close. All you have to do is really start to look, I think, not hide away. But something better is coming, something you are meant to have a more easeful time. And if it's about relationships, one of the things I would definitely say with all of this is do not crowdsource information about your relationships. Don't ring up all your friends and ask them what you think. Don't ask your family. There's something going on here where even if people don't mean ill, and they may not, even if they don't, this is not good advice for you. This is something you have to find within yourself. And it's easier and closer than you think, but it's almost like everybody else has had an opinion, but you're the one who needs to make the decision. That's how you make it happen, pile one. So let's have a look with a little bit more about how this is playing out in your day-to-day life. So I have a deck that is a tarot deck, but it's more like an oracle deck because it's not really clear what the suits are and so forth. So, and I think it shows modern life. So I just want to pull 3 cards for some more information on this message for you. Anxious. Yeah, you are anxious. I don't blame you. I would be too in this situation, but you don't really need to be, because really you just have to make the wish and move towards what you want. Enthusiasm reversed. Yeah, this is why it's psychologically important for you to hear this, because you've been made anxious and your enthusiasm for what you can do has been kind of drained away, drip by drip by drip in this sort of situation. It's like, that's why you need to kind of reconnect with what you want and your energy. And illusions, yeah, because there are illusions around this. Is people, as I say, it could be flat out people lying to you and manipulating you and passive aggressive control. That could be happening for some of you with these cards. But it doesn't have to be as blunt as that. It could be a family have a view about who you should love and it's not who you would love. You could have friends who think they know who you should be with and it's not who you want. You could have colleagues who think this is what you should be doing with your career, but it's not what you want to do. So it doesn't necessarily mean for all of you that the people are bad, but there's something a bit combustible with it. It makes you feel tense and it makes you feel like you're being conflict. And that's getting in the way of the ease that you're meant to have to get what you want. So let's just see a wild card energy against each of these as well too. So a wild card energy around how this is making you feel anxious. Says stand up for yourself, stand up to bullies. So some of you are probably being bullied. But otherwise, I think if you're not feeling directly that you're being bullied, because a lot of this could be very unconscious. It's not, as I say, and it may not even be that anybody's deliberately trying to do it. You just have to stand up for what you want, your wish, what you want in this situation is what matters. Then you don't feel so anxious. If you feel like, no, I'm going to make my wish, I'm going to go in my direction, that in itself relieves a lot of the anxiety. Then we get around the enthusiasm reversed. Hourglass, the time for something is coming to an end. Yeah, I think that this whole message is saying this time of anxiousness and drain on your energy and trying to sort of tiptoe around potentially combustible things is coming to an end. Like you're not meant to stay there and the new is meant to be born. So understand that better things are coming through. And then a wild card around the illusions. Chaos. Complete disorder and confusion. Yeah, I think there's something in the environment. But I think it's a wild card. It's saying that like this is none of this is real. Like this is also why we had like that kind of imagery around the target, because the woman looking really anxious, if you recall. Because I think that when you're in a situation that's combustible, competitive, maybe not terribly honest, whether it's meaning to be or not, it can feel like everything is untrustworthy. But what is trustworthy for you is what you want, and that's the navigation point. Because everybody else, they're all over the shop basically. It's not helpful energy for you. So let's have a look at the alchemical and the archetypal energy also around this message. So the alchemical energy is, I think, what I just dropped. So I'm just going to pause and grab the card. I have this type of thing that if I drop a card and it turns upright and it's on its own, then it's probably a sign that it's meant to be. So this is the card, and it's a very beautiful card, the Golden Rose. So you are heading towards the perfection of something. This is why it's saying it's so close. And I feel almost like the Ace of Pentacles is like this golden orb in the middle of the white rose. Whatever this is, you've come through a lot. You can't get to this point alchemically till you've gone through a lot and you've actually burnt out a lot. This is almost like the chaos energy there is almost like the Negredo. That's how you create the thing that is beautiful. That's how you bring the wish into being. So this is again, you're very close, alchemically, it's not far away at all. The worst is over, basically, is part of this message. So the archetypal energy for you to consider. The Poet. Okay, make a wish. There is something very creative about this, very expressive, you expressing what you want. There is a beauty and a rhythm and a succinct, to the point sort of energy to how you could express yourself here. You are a creative soul. You're possibly in a situation with people who are not creative, and so, or people who try and compete on that level, but they're not, it's not in their soul in the same way as it is for you. But there is nothing more poetical than the concept you make a wish and you bring in that which you love, that which you want. So there's something here. There's also the way you express this. You may find that the best way to deal with this is to express your wish creatively rather than necessarily full on, depending upon who you're dealing with and how. But this is the poetry of your life. You are meant to be creating the beauty of your life. That's why Spirit is saying you need to know this right now. It's so close. Okay, so let's just get a couple of astrology energies as well around this for you. So we're just going to get a couple of planetary pairs to see what else is worth considering. Chiron. Yeah, this is major healing for you. This is beautiful, though, to get to the Golden Rose. There's been something really difficult. And I don't think it's the first time around that you've experienced something like this, but this whole thing of starting to get towards being able to make a wish, make it come in and start to believe in yourself is meant to be really healing. And Venus. Oh, the Poet, beauty. Going towards your dream, towards what you love, beauty. If this is about love, you could bring in, after the healing, you could bring in a very beautiful love. If it's not about love, then it's about something beautiful that you could create and bring in, and what you love and doing what you love. So this is absolutely make a wish. The whole, in a sense, message was there right from the start, but we needed to understand why Spirit thought it was so urgent that you got that message. So just to finish off, I want to get a card from the Life Soul Vision Oracle for a final sort of message or a summation or something else that kind of is important to consider when you're going forward and using this message, pile 1. And we get New Moon, deliberate intention. Okay, so there's a couple of things around that. It could suggest in terms of timing that the best time to make your wish is when the moon is in the new moon cycle, because that's where you set a deliberate intention. I think it's also, this is meant to be a new moon. This is a new cycle coming in. That's why it said with the hourglass that certain things are coming to the end. These patterns that have been so difficult are coming to their end. Set your intention, maybe particularly at the new moon, and maybe keep repeating that in each new moon until you really feel it's coming through and you really believe it, because there could be a little bit of a time, if you've been going through this, where it's hard to believe it, but it is coming really close, and Spirit wants you to know that. So I think it's a lovely message, and I think that hopefully you can take it, imbue it into your soul, and bring about your wish sooner rather than later. I hope you've enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with anyway, and then, as I said, the wind blows. As I say, I'm being just a little bit careful because I don't want it to appear that I'm literally quoting a lyric from a song. But everybody knows that is a key signature set of words for Bohemian Rhapsody. And I find it really interesting that we also have head over heels here, which is at least, I know of at least one song called Head Over Heels by Tears for Fears. So I'm not sure of one called Blessing in Disguise. If anybody does know that, then, we've got the trifecta. But I do think it's really interesting here. Because I feel like when I think of things like Bohemian Rhapsody, I think of something that's grand and passionate and operatic, and then Head Over Heels is sort of like a sense of something that really bowls you over, something could very well be about love. So this whole message could be about love. So we'll see. We'll see what we get as we look into tarot to get a little bit more of an idea. But if it's not love, if it's grand and operatic and epic, it may be completely being consumed by a new creative project or a new vision in some way, or a new spiritual approach. So we will see. And there is a possibility for some it could be in that spiritual area, because we've got Sagittarius, which is very spiritual. It's very freeing as well. In this particular deck, it particularly talks about Sagittarius seeing something clearly, which makes it very interesting with Blessing in Disguise, because I feel like for some of you, this message might be, when you put those three cards together, that maybe there was a relationship, whether it's a love relationship, a friendship, or a creative partnership or a work partnership, that you freed yourself from, that you kind of said, I'm leaving it, in a sense, because there's a kind of that sense of separation in Bohemian Rhapsody as well. I've accepted that, this is not going to be what I thought it was going to be. I see that now. But this will be a blessing in disguise, because it frees you up for falling head over heels, either in love or passionately about something else. So it's like, I think this message to you is that something that you kind of have been philosophic about, that didn't work out, or you didn't feel really became what you hoped it would be, will turn out to be a blessing in disguise, because it frees you up for something else. And look, with all the hearts here, of course, it's very likely we're talking about love, but let's see what we get with tarot. So what we're going to do with tarot to get a little bit more information about this message is, firstly, we're going to ask about what you could see about this, what will be very clear about this message to you. Then we're going to look at what's unconscious with it, and then we'll have a look at how to connect those two to get the most out of the message. So firstly, something about what you will see and understand, what will be clear about this message, what might already be clear if you know what it is, or what is, if this is about something that's coming in, what will make it very clear to you. The Moon reversed, Nine of Swords reversed, Knight of Cups, Ten of Cups. Wow. The Fool reversed. Okay, I do think this is probably about love. I'd be surprised. I mean, we'll see what else we get, but I'd be surprised if it's really sort of something about work or creativity. I mean, it's possible. It could be a grand creative passion that has huge prospects, if that's the case. But I think by and large, it's talking about love. If it's not love, it's a friendship, okay? It's got something to do with the kind of like emotional side of life. You will find something out. You have either found something out, or you will find something out that relieves a lot of anxiety. Now, it could be about something that you've moved away from. It could be about a relationship or a connection that you moved away from. And you're going to realize that that was the best thing that could have ever happened. And again, without necessarily saying anything bad about the other person, but what appeared to be a misfortune. And look, it doesn't even have to be about a relationship. It could be that, you missed out on a job, and then you get another job somewhere else, and then you meet the love of your life. You're going to see something. It's going to come to the surface with the Moon reversed, and it's going to relieve any kind of anxiety that was just a false turn, or that it was something that was to be regretted, because again, thinking about the sense of what's in Bohemian Rhapsody, there's a sort of sense of regret in that song. But this is saying don't regret any way that things transpire. It's actually a blessing in disguise. And so your preparedness to understand, see that, and move away, it kind of relieves, understanding and seeing it relieves any anxiety about it. It's bringing in an emotional offer that it looks incredibly likely to work out really, really well with the Ten of Cups. Like, that's lovely. And like with the Fool reverse, this tells me that you don't go into this naively. Like, there's even something maybe about a former relationship or a former thing that didn't work out that means that this time around you really know what to do. You're clearer on yourself. You're clearer on what you're looking for, all of that kind of thing. What it makes me think about is I've seen this time and time again in reading for people, that often they will be in a relationship that doesn't quite work out. It's close to what they want, but it doesn't quite work out. Then it breaks out. And then, maybe 6 months or 12 months later, if that, they meet someone who's very similar and it does work out. And it's kind of like, it's almost like sometimes we're sent a dress rehearsal and it's close but not quite there. And then it's sort of like, it's almost like you get to practice. I know this sounds really bizarre, but I've seen it happen so many times. This is kind of what this energy looks like. So that you'll know that whatever you had regretted and let go will actually have been the best thing you could have done, because you'll know something's coming in and you'll feel able to move forward with it confidently, and also that you've got the wisdom from before. So what won't you know? What's unconscious in this that's important to understand? Page of Cups reversed, Three of Pentacles, Temperance, Five of Pentacles reversed, Four of Wands reversed. Okay, all right. So I think what this is all about, and what's unconscious, what's underneath all of it, which is why you're going to very much get this aha and understand, is that whatever occurred before that didn't work out, part of the reason it didn't happen, what you're going to realize is that you weren't really clear with yourself what you wanted in terms of whatever this was, whether it's romantic, love, friendship, if it is something creative, whatever it is, that you hadn't unconsciously really worked out how to move from the Page of Cups to bring in the Knight of Cups. As a result of that, you were maybe drawing in the wrong sort of people, maybe people who were more friends, or it could have been that you kind of almost separated these two out. It may in fact be that this new love potentially comes in as a friend, and if you hadn't realized that you separated those out and you get this into balance, then you may not even have seen this. It's sort of like a slower build might in fact be better. You might have rushed into something before, and now, even though this is very compelling and you're head over heels, you've kind of worked out that you've got to work out what is love and what is friendship, getting that into balance, because there's a sense over here with the Four of Wands reversed and the Five of Pentacles reversed that you might have settled for something that wasn't quite right rather than be alone. So it's sort of your own foundations around this, understanding about friendships, and then what could take it to something else. This is something that you're meant to work out, so that the energy of what comes in, you can recognize it for what it is. That's why it says, I see. And this freedom and something not quite working out is something in the space of the difference between friendship and love, I think, around this. So I do think this is probably about love. But if it's not, it might be the type of friendship you want, or the type of collaboration you want, or something like that. It's very possible to bring it into balance, but to recognize this for what this could be, you need to have that balance, because otherwise you may sort of feel like, oh, it's just going to go the same way as the other one, and like you want to go there because it's your choice rather than you just don't want to be alone. So how do you align the seen and unseen best with this message? The World, Ten of Wands, Knight of Swords, Queen of Swords. Okay, this is why we had Sagittarius saying, I see. Sagittarius, amongst other, even though it's not a swords suit, it's not an air suit, it's very philosophical. So this is about you understanding what you believe about these situations, so that you already know, you don't second guess yourself around it. You can move quickly and even surprise people sometimes, because you worked out what is going on and what you want. So there's a very much, one of the things to do with this is to think it through and to look at it in some way. Look at what happened before, look at what you would want, almost try and articulate it, maybe even write a list of criteria or something, because you're going to find something comes in that fits this, and it gives you that confidence to move forward. Also, understanding this doesn't have to be a burden. It's very interesting with this head over heels, she's sort of like she's so flexible in the way that she's sort of like contorting herself. I think this is like, you can be flexible and move with it. It doesn't have to be such a burden. And it's like completing out any sort of cycles that were a burden for you, so that you can move forward to what you actually believe in. There's something about belief here. There's something about understanding it and seeing it and articulating it, bringing this stuff up to the surface so that you don't feel next time you're head over heels that you're just being sort of like, pulled into the tsunami and hoping it's going to be okay. You'll have a real sense of kind of a navigation to know that this is the one, because it does look like something really good's coming in. So let's get a little bit more information about this. I want to use the Life Visions Tarot, which I use more as an oracle because it's a little bit hard to work out what the suits are in this. But it's got glimpses of modern life, I feel. I think it's very good as an oracle around seeing how things play out at that level. So let's see what else we can get about this message for you. Disappointment reverse. Okay, so there's been times where things didn't work out, but that's not what's coming through now. This is not going to be the same. Then we get ingenuity reverse. Now that's interesting. That's the Magician reverse. So I do know, that's what that is. I think there was something, if you look at it, particularly intellectually, and the communication that occurred between you and whatever came before this, you'll realise that it couldn't have worked. It was not the right one. This is why it's a blessing in disguise it didn't work, because there was something that wasn't quite real about it. But if you understand that and you bring that to the surface, in doing that, you start to articulate to yourself what you are looking for. And dreamer. Be a dreamer, I think. Allow the dreams to come through. But I think it's a combination of dream and think it through as well. It's a combination of both. And it could be sort of saying that some of what happened before was that you were more the dreamer and not thinking through what was actually going on and looking at the signs. Now, if you could kind of almost look through this and realise it was a blessing in disguise, it didn't work out, it allows you to draw in the dream. Let's see a wild card for each of those points. So around the fact this is not going to be a rerun of the disappointment. Luck. Good luck coming your way. Yeah, this is like the message is it's getting better. This was a blessing in disguise. The disappointment was actually lucky. Whether they say that thing about rejection is sometimes protection, then around that something was not quite right and getting really clear on what you believe and think about something and what you'd want to communicate. We have light bulb, inspiration, new idea, and new approach. Yeah, it's kind of like when you go aha and you see the blessing in disguise, that's when it all comes together for you. And the wild card around being a dreamer and getting that, making that work for you. Earth, abundance, fertility, grounding. Yeah, grounding your dreams, making them real. What does that actually look like? I think if you look back at this, whatever this other thing was never going to ground, whereas you're going to realise one of the differences around this is this can actually be. It can actually ground and be sustainable. It's not just you falling head over heels and being stuck up in the clouds. It's actually you're going to be able to ground this. This is the message, is to say it's going to work for you. So let's have a look at the alchemical and archetypal energy that's an engine room under this message. So in terms of alchemy, synchronicity. That's interesting. And I'll just get the archetype and then I'll talk about this. So the archetypal energy. The flame. Oh, yes. I do think this is about love, or passion anyway. If it's not love, it's passion for something, a project or something very passionate. Synchronicity is showing that things are all happening at the right time. And you're going to get this is why the moon reversed is there. You're going to get information coming up, whether it's literally you're going to hear things or whether it's synchronistic and it's sort of like the language of the universe telling you, but you're going to see that everything is sort of starting to slot into exactly the right timing for you so that you can pursue the flame, so that you can follow your desire in whatever this is. And that's what lights your way. Light bulb, the desire, the flame. So there's something, and I actually think there could be synchronicity around some of those sort of images, candle flames, light bulbs, horseshoes, anything about the earth or gardening, any of those things. Pay attention to that because they could be signs. You're meant to follow your passion now. You're meant to follow that which takes you to a pinnacle. And there's going to be signs for you from the universe. So pay attention to them. That's also why we had I see with Sagittarius, like see how the universe is talking to you. Okay, so let's just get you a couple of cards around the astrological energy, just some planets and how they're operating with this message. Jupiter and Uranus, yeah, big change, but for the benefit. In the end, all that was disruptive and changing and so forth was for your benefit, was lucky. It's a very lucky break, actually. The whole thing, whatever this was, whatever didn't work out that you were able to let go of, was a lucky escape. Okay, and then the other card we have is Sun and Mercury. That, yeah, this is why you've got to work it out. This is why you've got to bring it up into your mind and be able to articulate it. It's sort of not just enough to be feeling it. It's like the thing underneath that brought you towards the wrong energy originally, and could block you from going to the right energy, is not articulating it, seeing it, speaking it. Mercury is speaking it. Doesn't mean you have to go and ask the person out or something. It's more that you've got to articulate to yourself what it is and how that connects with your life path, how your passion connects to the flame of the sun, that kind of energy. Because this is a very beneficial time. It's a time to really grasp that and articulate it. Move very fast with Knight of Swords with this, once you've really articulated what you want. Okay, just to finish off, I want to get a card from the Life Soul Vision Oracle for either an additional message associated with this or a way to sum up the energy for you. Spirit Crane, dance with the divine. Wow. Okay, for a start, you may have crane as a spirit animal, so you might want to look up the properties of crane. Certainly there's a sense of news coming again, things you're going to see. And there might be another thing to watch out for, synchronicities, sort of winged creatures, birds in some way. Dance with the divine. That's all about timing. You know, that's all about getting the right partner, isn't it? Like in whatever this is. So I think it's saying that this is going to work for you because it's in alignment with your life path, with your soul path, with the synchronistic movement of the universe. So I think it's a very positive message, and one that's meant to encourage you. But it is saying, really articulate this to yourself, really understand it. It's a bit like, you know, if you're going to be in a dance, there's two different ways of dancing, I guess. One way is that you just sort of like listen to the music and move around however you want. That's not necessarily going to work that well here. What's going to work well here is understanding the steps of a dance, articulating it. So, you know, learn to waltz, learn to foxtrot, we'll learn to do the samba. I don't know. I'm not actually saying you have to go and learn to dance. What I'm saying is that I'm just using it as an analogy. This is like there is thought put into certain types of dancing that means that you work in harmony with another partner. If you're not thinking it through, you tend to just dance and do whatever you want. And you might have a partner, but they're just dancing and doing whatever they want to. I think this is about getting into harmony, into synchronicity with somebody in some way. And that connects to your divine purpose. So I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Butterfly Effect. We also have Third Eye, Blind, and Forever Young here, and then the air element communicating. It's interesting, Butterfly Effect of all of these, I thought this might be the most mysterious message, and I suspect it will be, and we'll see how it plays out. But on one level, the butterfly effect is very famous. It's a concept that a very small change has a ripple effect out for many, many more people, many, many more things, many more aspects in your life. So there's certainly sort of something here where there is the possibility that there is something, this message is about something small you could do that's going to have a very big effect in one way or another. The fact that it's card 19, which adds to 10, which then comes back to 1, is something new to me numerologically, and I think it matters because a butterfly is a new form of what the caterpillar was. So there could be a very fundamental transformation within you that has a small impact ostensibly that ripples out. So there's something around that. It's sort of like how the things that you do, how they affect beyond you, but they also seem to be the way that this card is portrayed, how they also create the new you in a way as well too. So I'm always conscious of the fact that we make choices, but our choices always make us as well. You know, they tend to narrow down other choices each time we do it, and it takes a bigger step to move into something else. So there's a sense though here of renewal because we have Forever Young. So it's almost as though, unlike most people, you don't take a series of choices that take you down an ever narrowing pathway that then leads to some form of inevitability. I think there's something about you as a group where you kind of do know how to jump paths when you need to. And it's almost like part of what you do is this constant renewal. And so you sort of like, you get to a particular point, you become the butterfly, you reach that apotheosis of the beauty of something, and then it's like you go back to being young again. You go back to almost being the caterpillar and then the chrysalis. So there's something here about renewal and the effect of that, both on your life and on others. And then there's something about the intuition and about needing to sort of really focus on the intuition and things like telepathy, I think, with the air element. I think this is talking about the fact that you're highly telepathic. So there is a ripple effect around this. And if you do spiritual work with telepathy, or if you do divination or whatever, what you're doing to some extent is you're getting into the ripple effect of other people's energy. So you could be very good at doing this sort of work, for instance, because you may pick up the energy coming in and out of the kind of ripple effect within each person's energetic field, so to speak. I always see that like concentric circles for some reason, that energy comes in and out of, but like that's just a visual metaphor. I think there's something in this about your form of renewal almost being in response to what you're picking up from the collective, and then it goes back out to the collective. You communicate it out to the collective in something that then helps others renew. So it's sort of the energy. This is a message about a very internal change that feels like it's a very small, hidden thing that's yours. But because of this ripple effect of your spiritual energy, it actually affects many others. And I think can be very inspirational. I also thought when I saw it, there may be one or more people who come to this where they work with young people. And if that's the case, it's definitely saying that you really connect with them, you really communicate well, and the smallest things that you say have a huge effect on their lives. So certainly, if you are working with young people in some way, I think this is a very big thumbs up from the universe that you're doing the right thing and that you're very attuned, and that you maybe do things a little bit different to conventional. That's why we've got the eyes sort of shut and we're looking at the intuition, but you're very on point with what you do. But I think for most of you, it's like there's something where you keep renewing yourself. This message is for you to understand something about the way your own personal renewal process, which kind of keeps you forever young in many ways, has that ripple effect on other people. And this is important to know for some reason. So let's try and see if we can learn a bit more about it. So with tarot, I want to look first about what you would understand and see very clearly with this message. Then I'm going to look at what could be unseen or unconscious underneath it, and then look at how to bring that together. So what would be very obvious to you that would make sense, that you go, aha, about this message? The Chariot, the Page of Pentacles, the Four of Cups, the Five of Wands reversed, the King of Pentacles. Okay, for a start, some of you, there's definitely something about working with young people in one form or another. Whether it's in a career or whether you're a parent or something like that, but there's something like that that's going on for some of you. Doesn't have to be that, but that's really interesting, and a kind of a stewardship role over young people. So it's confirming that for some people who come to this, there is something about that. Beyond that, if it's more the ripple effect and so forth, you know that there's something about you that's very kind of magical and transformative. You already know that. You've gone on this journey a number of times. This is not the first time that you've kind of almost regenerated yourself. And it's very physical in some ways. I think you're sort of someone who, you're going to look really young when you're old, and I don't know what age you are now, but you're going to look a lot younger than your age, which might be a problem if you're sort of like in your early 20s and you look 15 at the moment. But trust me, eventually it's going to be a good thing. So you're going to look a lot younger than your age. It's like there's a physical sort of side that this is coming out with. But it's partly because it's about reinvigorating things. It's like where there are emotional blockages or where there's conflict that needs to be dissipated, your energy kind of telepathically and showing how you can change, showing how you can move beyond, brings a much better outcome. So ironically, you're going to look younger than you are, but you're going to come across as more mature than you are. You know, when you're young, you're going to come across as more mature than you are, that you'll look young. And then when you are mature, you're going to look younger. But either way, you're going to have the gravitas that people listen to. What this really reminds me of as an energy, and this is just to give an example, is that I once did a course where a guy came in and he was doing a course on attitude. And I have to admit that I thought, oh my God, what's this going to be about? But it was one of the best courses I ever went to. It was someone who worked with youth who had either tried to take themselves off the mortal coil, or who had been dealing with sort of like juvenile justice and that sort of thing. And these are ones who obviously were still with us, so I'm not getting into that. But the point is that he was able to show these kids how their attitude to what happened to them and what they did with them empowered them. So they didn't have to feel victims to something. They could actually make choices that made huge impacts on them. And it was incredible. It was an incredible course. It's so inspirational. This is the sort of feeling that I have about this. This is about dealing with people in that situation. And I feel like you have a really you don't have to be dealing with people literally, but it's an example of it. It's like there's something about you, and I think you do this telepathically. Some of you, as I say, may do work like that guy, and if you do, good on you. I mean, like, he was amazing. It's amazing when people do that sort of work, but you don't have to for this. I think that's almost telepathically you do this. You sort of help other people, shift their attitudes, understand that they can remake themselves, understand that they can always be beautiful, whatever it might be that they need. You can do that. So that's really powerful, and you know that. That bit will resonate for you. So what is a bit unconscious? We've got the Four of Pentacles, the Strength, the Eighth Major Arcana, the Tower reversed, the Queen of Pentacles reversed, the Empress reversed. Okay, all right. So you don't yet fully know. You kind of know this. As I say, you'll resonate to certain things. You'll resonate to the fact that you change quite often. You'll resonate that you seem to be able to kind of almost youth in yourself. You'll resonate to the fact that you can shift choices and that you're more flexible than most. And you'll probably resonate to the fact that you're telepathic, psychic. But you don't fully know how strong you are yet, or what an incredibly good impact you have on other people. Like, this is for you to actually understand that. And it's partly because it is subtle and it is incremental and bit by bit. It's like you say or do certain things that work on people over time. And then they come out of the emotional blocks, they come out of the potential sort of conflict and so forth. It's like a drip feed, but it has enormous effect. But it's slow and steady, so you may not even see it. Like, you may impact people, particularly because it's telepathic. You might be impacting people like without even knowing it. You could be going in and getting a cup of coffee from a barista, and the barista might be in an incredibly low depressive mood or something, and there might be something that you say and the energy you give, and you walk away, and something in what you've done has made him feel or her feel amazing, and you don't know it. But it's happening all the time. You're having this effect all the time. So you don't really realise this yet. And you haven't, this is something you could potentially, turn into a career or monetize in some way, lay a foundation. You haven't really thought about that either, because it's just sort of like what you do. And interestingly enough, it's like a nurturing energy, but you don't see it as nurturing, and you may in fact not see yourself as maternal. Like, you might think, oh, I don't want to work with young kids, or what are you talking about? But there is something that is nurturing about you. But it's like that, as I say, it's done at this different level. It's done at this telepathic communication level. So you might think, many of you might be the age where you think, I don't want anything like that. It is certainly saying that if you were a parent at some point, your nurturing energy would come to the fore. This is a nurturing energy that you're not aware of, but right now it's not necessarily being used in that way. Or if you do have children, you're using it, you're not even aware you're using it. So you're not even aware yet of how strong this is. So let's see how to connect the seen and the unseen to really make this message work for you. The World, Eight of Wands, Wheel of Fortune, wow. And then the Three of Swords reversed. Okay, I do think This message is coming to you so that you understand in whatever you do in your career or, making money or whatever, this is something that would be very fortunate for you to use. It's also given you an incredible sense of timing. You can understand the timing of things. You know when to, in fact, you always know when to move away from something when it's completed or no longer going to move forward. Like your sense of timing is off the charts. And maybe if you're thinking about that and how you've managed to reduce pain for yourself or for others by having this really good sense of timing, you'll start to see this is much more powerful than you're giving yourself credit for. I think that's what this is saying. It's saying that the thing that you see, in a sense, is only the surface level of how powerful this is. But if you start to look at, you just knew, like I bet you that you've known when to leave relationships, you've known when to leave workplaces, and always sometime afterwards you'll have found out something that was absolutely the perfect timing. And if you start to think about it, you've probably advised and helped others to do it. And in every case, it would have been much more painful had it not occurred. So I think it's like this is remembering that is going to make you see how you could use this. But I also do think you could potentially use it for your fortune if you wanted to. So, okay, let's have a look with a little bit more about how this is playing out with a deck called the Visions of Life Tarot. It is a tarot deck, but it's hard to tell the difference between the suits. So I just tend to use it as an oracle, but it has really good glimpses of modern life, I think. So just want to get a little bit more information about this message for you. Decision. Okay, I'll put the three out first. Rivalry. Fertility. Okay, all right. So that's the Empress reversed again. This is not, I think it is saying this is not for most of you about being a parent. Like, it doesn't mean you couldn't be a parent, but this message is bigger than that. So if you're just thinking, oh, I do that as a parent, you're doing it much more than you think. So I think it's just saying that. It does say that you could have people who are jealous of you or rivals. So just to be aware of that. But it's going down. There's something, this sense, again, Four of Pentacles, and then you've got the Four of Pentacles there again. It's sort of like there is a decision to make about how to use this for your fortune, I think. That's why this is coming up. And to understand that again, you've got amazing timing when you make decisions. Like, you're not wrong. It's really funny too that, like, he throws his head up in the air. And I feel like that's, again, the shifting of self that we're seeing here. The ease with that. Because you kind of your timing, that you're juggling is just perfect. But you will have some rivals, some jealousy around some of this as well. So let's see a wild card for each of these things. So around this capacity to use it to make decision making, your timing, and possibly some decisions about whether to use this in a career if you haven't already done that. We get the Sun, consciousness, ego, vitality, stamina. This is part of your life path. So it's something to really think about for your fortune. We're dealing with the rivalry that you might get. Journey, a physical or spiritual journey. Okay, so I think this is you knowing when to leave. I think this is basically just saying when you come across that, to move on. There are many paths that can get you where you need to go. And then this thing that seems to be saying this is not about traditional nurturing. So we get Arrow. You need to pull back to move forward even further. It's how you focus is. I think it's just saying right now the focus is not necessarily on parenthood. It's okay if you are. There's nothing wrong with that, and you would bring it to that. But I think the focus is broader than that. So that's just to sort of think broader than just, oh, these are the sort of things I do for children or something. This is something you could do on a broader level. Okay, so let's have a look at the alchemy and archetypal energy, the kind of spiritual engine room of this message. Wow, this one came up earlier, so some of you might have come to 2 readings. The Golden Rose, okay, and I'll just get the archetype energy as well. The prayer, wow. Deeply spiritual, but that makes perfect sense because this is a spiritual ability. You have it very, very well developed. The Golden Rose is a beautiful outcome of the alchemical process. So it says that this has come from your spiritual development. You're spiritually very developed. This is why you can do it. And the alchemical process is a process of changing and everything. It is a bit like over and over the butterfly. So it's like you've perfected this art, and you can bring this sort of the spiritual and the material together in a very beautiful and inspiring way. And the archetype, the prayer, it's like what you put out into the universe and what you draw in through your intuition and the changes that you do is a bit like a prayer. It's like a communication to the divine and also a communication to the collective unconscious, and it has that ripple effect. So it's showing how strongly spiritual this is, very, very developed spiritually. Okay, let's also see some astrology energy. So just a couple of pairings of planets for anything else about the message. Mars and Pluto. Okay, so this is meant to be something you act on. The transformation is very active. It's not passive. And I think there could be a peacekeeping type of energy for this too. It's sort of like, it feels to me like it's sort of like you could potentially go and work in conflict or something like that, because you have this capacity to read a room and what's going on and know the points to inspire. We also get Mercury and Neptune. Yeah, this is the telepathy. Boy, you guys are off the charts when it comes to that sort of thing. Like far more than you realise at the moment. Really, really telepathic. Really, really connected to the numinous. I think you pick up too. See, this is the thing too. You'd be able to look at the political landscape and see something looks relatively minor, but you would be able to take it through to its conclusion and see when major change was coming. You'd be quite prophetic. Because I think that's what prophecy really is. It's like it's seeing all the sort of connections or whatever, and seeing the future at long distance, I always say, is actually the present at long distance. So I think there's something like that for you as well. Wow. Okay. So to bring it all together, I'm just going to draw a card from the Life Soul Vision Oracle for anything else, like any other part of this message that Spirit wants to say, or a summation energy or some advice, whatever Spirit wants to bring you right now. Eclipse Revelations, Destiny Speaks. Yeah, this is your destiny. And it's far more than you think. Like, I almost think one of the things this might be saying is that so much information comes and goes from you that you may not even fully see how it impacts you. You've almost, the moon energy in a way, that the psychic energy is almost overwhelmed even your sense of self. But the eclipse starts to separate out and you can see both. This is something that is part of your destiny. You're here for a reason. This energy is really, really important for you. So, wow. Very interesting, people. I hope that message resonated for you. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.